Here is the dragon. I was gonna start painting him, but then I was like, oh, you know what? I should paint this foot real quick. And so that's what I started doing. My friend said I should make the toes more orange, but I only have these 3 colors to work with, so I can blend to a point with those fluorescents, but it is what it is. Wondering what I'm doing. This is the little cosmic space baby, and I decided to make her have like cosmic feet. And so I'm using just a little bit of the Reborn. Actually, this one, yeah, this is Fantasy FX that I got from McPherson's. And I kind of did like a, just a basic primer coat. So it would be lighter. On the feetsies, and now I'm just trying to build up a little bit of color. I'm trying to think of like a rainbow sort of nebula. Just on the palms and feet. And we'll see how it plays out. This is really iridescent. Very iridescent kind of paint. It does not work in my air guns at all, so if I want to do anything with it, I have to do it by hand, because otherwise the iridescent sheen just clogs up my air gun. My airbrush, whatever. How you guys doing? Happy Sunday. I'm calling it Snuggle Up Sunday. It's a good day to just snuggle up with your pets and loved ones. Maybe a favorite dolly. Painting a foot with iridescent cosmic space themed. Yep, very good. So once I get this sort of mapped out, I can airbrush with other colors later if I decide that I want it to be darker. And of course I'll have like, you know, toenails and stuff later. My friend keeps insisting that I do something like a fluorescent orange, but I told her I don't have a fluorescent orange. I only have these 3, and I can kind of mix an orange. You can sort of see where the yellow into the pink goes. But once I start doing all of the other cosmic work on the baby itself, I'm sure that this will only be just a mapped out sort of situation anyway. If you want to see the 3 that I'm working on, this is going to be Shadow Fae. She's like a dark-skinned fairy. She's kind of chocolatey. And then I have Woodland Senna, and she's going to be like woodland themed and have some wood. And then this Cosmic Lucy, and that's her. And that's whose feet I'm working on right now. So you can see how iridescent that the special effects paint is. And I add just a little more paint dilute to that, just so I have something to pull it out with. I am not a super big fan of this this fantasy line, just because it's so thin, and I really have to like coat it several times. I would prefer a less diluted version, I think. Maybe a brighter pink if they ever decide to rethink the Reborn FX line. Fantasy line is my point. But I work with the resources you have available to you, so that's kind of how all of art is. Painting, and then I might go lay down and snuggle the kitties for a little while, and then come back and paint some more. But for the most part, I'm just having a lazy Sunday. Still in my PJs. I was going to do a little more work on these dragons over here. Maybe I'll probably try to get to a point where I finish those guys off later this evening, once I get these little feet done. Let me show you some of the other feet that I'm working on. So this is the Shadow Fae baby's feet. She's the really dark skinned baby. And then this is Sana, the woodland fairy. Well, she's not really a fairy, she's just a woodland baby, and this is her little foot. And then this is Lucy, my little cosmic space baby's feet. And she has like a nebula, rainbow nebula on the bottom of her feet and eventually her palms, I think. This is, let's see if I can show it to you. This is the fluorescent pink Fantasy FX, and the yellow and the blue. And it goes on really quite thin, and so it takes me a little bit to get it built up to the coloring that I like. And I'll start bringing in some yellow. One of the things you have to be careful is to not pull the paint back off. Let's see if I can pull in some of the yellow. Add some of the blue in the middle there. And I do like it when it overlaps and creates like the blue green. And I also like it when it kind of makes the purpley color with the pink and blue. I can't believe it. My kids are finally going back to school this week. Summer just flew on by. Oops, I have a little too much blue on there. All right, so because I don't want it to dry very thick, I'm going to pounce some of it back off. And then I will layer it back on. Look like this as we continue. Keep building up my little layers. Hasn't be chunky. And I will let that dry a little bit, and then I will pounce another layer. And we're going to do the same thing with the hands. And then eventually, once I have it all layered and it's looking all beautiful, then I will probably add some like cosmic space, like stars and comets or something. Of course, I'm going to be doing the whole skin with different various sort of airbrushed colors, but it will be different than the hands eventually. And I sort of just have a picture in my mind. And we'll see how close I can get it to look like that picture in my mind when I'm all done. I could just leave it on there to dry, but then if I did it like that, it would be chunky, and I don't want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and pounce it, blend it, and then reapply and do the same. So I'm building layers. Don't want chunkies. Drop a little more paint dilute. Okay. Saying earlier, I could do this with airbrushing, but this particular color of paint doesn't work in my airbrush because of the iridescence. It clogs it. So I just take my time and apply it by hand and pounce to blend. A few more times, but that's okay. To layer. think I went in with some blue in there and it made like kind of a cool purple color. And let's see if we can get some of this to blend now a little better. Let's rinse that and add just a little blue on the inside. I like the way that kind of gives it a little bit of a pinky purple. Let that sit for a minute. Come back to my hand. All right, let's add a little yellow. Probably a little bit of blue. Need it to be a little more. There we go. Let's go ahead and add some blue, but let's add it up here on the fingers. Okay, I'll sort of let that dry and then I'll come back in later and continue to like play and build up some of those layers. Because this is such a thin iridescent sort of paint and I'm really sort of tricking it essentially to more opacity than it does naturally. Let's add a little more pink to the inside of this thumb. And I will be redoing all of the fingernails with a very, very brighter, more like fingernail, probably like a different color itself just for the fingernails. But for now, we'll just go over it with the base coat. And then when I come in later to do the fingernails, they'll be like a entity of its own. All right, looking good. I like it so far. I have one more hand to do. Let's see if I can scooch just a little and keep everybody still here. Where did he go? There it is. This is Cosmic Space Baby Lucy. And she has like a little iridescent rainbow on her hands and feet. And she's going to have all sorts of really cool space colors onto her blue skin later. So it's kind of very thick. So that's the reason why I'll come back in and pounce that back so it's nice and smooth, even though it makes it thinner and it takes more coats. I don't want chunky paint. We'll get there. Alright, let's go ahead and add a little bit of yellow. Oops, sorry, I didn't realize I was off screen there. Pounce that. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of blue. So Cosmic Space Lucy has a very, very dark blue as her primary skin color here. And then when I come in with all the like space details and everything, I'm going to try to use very, very bright contrasts. And I like to think that maybe I'll give her some pastel hair to match. We'll see how it plays out when she's all done. Usually I don't choose the hair until I look at the whole thing. But anyway, you can see I have to layer that pink a little bit more as well as each of the other colors. And I'll probably actually come back in and do the same thing with the feet. But for now, that's it. Here is Cosmic Lucy. And I'm really looking forward to showing you her detail work as she comes along. Thanks. Peace and love.